Yeah, I mean, that's the first time the women have won a title in 10 years. And I mean, the last time both programs won a title, I was in my first semester here at WT as an athlete. So it was very special for me. We gathered the athletes up afterwards, and for the men to go 1 through 6, obviously that hasn't been done since the 90s in our conference. And for the women to put 7 in the top 11, score 20 points was also very dominating. And I think it sent a good message to where we're at, and it's a good testament to where we're at. But we gathered up afterwards and said, hey, we're going to celebrate this moment, but we need to turn the page on this, right? And we need to be ready to go at the regional meets. And, the goal from the beginning of the season is to have both programs in the top 10 in the nation. And I think we're still very much aware that that's what we're pursuing. So we're happy with what we did, but we're ready that we're moving forward.
When you mentioned, you feel like they both squads still know, hey, the job is not finished yet. What's practice been like in the time since?
Yeah, we had a really good week last week. I was very, very pleased. We're still very much focused. Sometimes, after you win a conference championship in dominant fashion, things can just feel a bit relaxed. There's not as much focus. You kind of get content with where you're at, and that was not the case at all. I think both groups gathered up, and again, we talk about these things pretty regularly, where we're at and where we want to go, and that's probably the most focus I've seen them on both sides. So I'm really, really excited with where we're at.
When you're running in Lubbock, the place you guys dominated earlier this year, does that kind of give you any extra help wherever you're going out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think when people think of cross country, they don't really think of much strategy, but it definitely plays in your factor to know the course. And, there's different tangents and different lines you can take. And Lubbock is not very, very hilly. There are a few hills on the backside. So just being aware that that's coming, could save you a lot. And especially being in the Texas Panhandle, the wind up here. It's not looking too windy on race day, but if that is something that comes into play, I think it's a big factor for us. So yeah, it's really good that we were able to preview that course, that we know it really well, and that several of these athletes have been there 3 or 4 times now.
What are the challenges you guys kind of face in training when the temperatures do drop so starkly like this and it starts to get pretty cold out there?
Yeah, it's definitely a shock to the system. But I told them, hey, like, this weather is what it is. It's cross country. We all know that. And last time I was at Joplin, which is where the national meeted, it was very cold and very windy, right? So we just need to learn to deal with the elements and not let it mess with our minds, and just be really, really mentally strong and understand that every other team's going through this. And if we could play this to our benefits with the weather and the conditions we run into here, then yeah, that's a huge plus for us on race day.
What do you think it's going to take for you guys to bring back that regional title?
Whew, yeah. I mean, being in the South Central is obviously a daunting task. It's the toughest region, and a lot of coaches will say that it's the toughest region in the nation. I mean, when you think of Division II distance running, you think of the RMAC, right? Adams, Mines, Colorado Christian, Pueblo, UCCS. Those are all programs that have been in the top 10 in the nation at some point in their history. So traditionally speaking, and looking at it from a historical sense, if you're in the top 5 in the region, you're most likely top 10 in the nation. And to me, that's a huge plus. I like being in the hardest region. I think it shows us exactly what the national meet's going to be like, instead of, hiding from competition and saying, oh, I don't know where we're really at, and going to the national meets. I mean, if you perform well in our region, chances are you're going to perform really, really well at the national meet as well.